But let's go to where that really should lead us, which is to the resources and for what. The primary resources are essence and injury. Well, I mean, there's two kinds. There's the points of taking damage, and then there's injuries that you gain by crossing thresholds. And the same thing over there for the spirit. So there's the little points and then the fictional consequences, injuries, and so forth. Again, there's a lot of nuance there. At first, I thought that you actually darkened your soul as an injury. And I only realized later you only darken your soul if you bottom out in spirit. But that didn't happen to any of the characters, but I had that wrong. But the point is, you've got the little points, you've got the injuries, the thresholds to cross, and then you've got what happens if you hit bottom. So that's one whole set of resources right there. Then over here, you have the resources of the pacing of play. Again, we hit redundancy. The first redundancy that we hit, and we hit it hard, and I even house ruled it just to solve it immediately, is that blights will prevent you from rests. Resolve or no resolve, blights will prevent you from rests. And therefore, someone's got to invoke a blight on you in order for you to have enough, in order for you to benefit from a rest. I really think that threw, I mean, it really threw things for a loop. And there is a mode of game design which is overly behaviorist, which is that for X to occur in play, and you say, well, X is going to be fun, so we want to make sure that people have the fun. So let's say that either if they don't do it, then there's some sort of negative consequence, or if they do it, then they're going to get like a bonus, a +1 and something, or something like that. So I call these breadcrumb mechanics. Usually it's the positive version where you say, when I narrate that my character clutches his dolly, I'm going to get a +1 to hit. Because that's the rule. I mean, you have your favorite thing, and, you got your dolly, and you're going to get, if I say so. See, that's the point. If I say so, then I get my +1. So it's a reward for talking in a certain way, right? Now, you can also have the negative thing, which is that if I say, if I or someone else doesn't, invoke my dolly, then I can't get something that's coming to me otherwise. They're the same thing, the same idea. This has shown itself to be a desperately and, in fact, devastatingly flawed feature of role-playing design. If I get a +1 because I have my dolly, that's one thing. But if I get a +1 because I have to remember to talk about it, that's another. It makes it a chore, and it makes it pro forma. It's very different from the situation in, for example, Sorcerer, where anything that I may say that suddenly just gets us all charged at the table is worth a +1, whatever it is. And it may be, I mean, superficially, it's because, oh, wow, look, he grabbed his dolly, and everybody went, oh, my God, the dolly, of course, yeah. And the GM says, holy shit, bonus die, man, for the dolly. That's awesome, right? And everybody's excited about it. That's very different from saying every character must have a favorite thing, and when they invoke the favorite thing, they get their +1. It's the latter is hideously annoying. And I think that the solution in your case, you've already got the resolve and saga contrast and decisions involved. Why not just say, hey, when someone invokes your blight, they invoke your blight. There's no mechanic there. There's no plus. There's no penalty for doing it. There's no bonus for not doing it. No, there's no penalty for not doing it, and there's no bonus for doing it. If it's fucking fun to have someone else invoke your blight, then it'll be fun. If it's not fun, then don't make us do it. The players actually, 2 of the players really liked that. One of the players didn't want anything like that, in play for their character and made sure that they didn't have any blights. So made a very straightforward character. Whereas the other characters, one of them was a burned man, and so the blights were all the fuck over the place. And one of them had a couple, and they actually quite liked invoking the blights on each other, and it enhanced play quite a bit. After the fight with the dog, one of the things that happened was that the shaman character, who the player said was an ex-shaman. His first path was shaman, and since then he had not been one. And he said it was because his spirit animal had been killed way back when. And so therefore one of his paths was to seek a new spirit animal. That was something that his character would consider, as an option. The point being whether they would kind of pick up their shamanistic ways at that time. And so when at the end of that fight, a number of the dog creatures had been knocked unconscious by the mind spike, the one guy's mind spike. And so the guy playing the shaman said, I'm going to go over. I think these things are really super dangerous. I'm going to go kill the sleeping ones. I'm going to go kill a few and, thin them out a little bit. This pack is obviously bad news. And the other player invoked his sadness, which was a blight. And the player kind of blinked and said, holy crap, you're right. Huh. You know what? I can't do it. I'm there and I'm about to cut these things' throats, and I can't. I just imagine it when it was a puppy. Hideous, mutated face and all. I can't. And he liked it. Right? And he ran with it as a plot point, decided to take that path later, and indeed took one of these creatures as a spirit animal later on. So it was so the use of the blights actually was very effective. Another one, they chatted up as like, I wonder if I'm going to invoke your paranoid. That could be cool right now. And it was kind of pleasant table talk. The idea that they were kind of enjoying the depth of one another's character. So it really served its purpose. And the notion, but each one was like, God, I would hate to have to do this if it was buying resolve. I would hate it. Because I'd be sitting here going, I better, he's not going to be able to rest unless we give him, the resolve and it's not going to be able to rest unless we do this blight thing. Even if he does choose concessions all day long and build up all this resolve, he's not going to be able to benefit. And so it's on us. We're going to have to, sit here and come up with a way for him to have his blight. And even though it's exactly the same person who was happy to do it, in fact, delighted to do it spontaneously, the second you introduce that little punishment mechanic, he's like, oh, fuck you. I'm not going to, this is terrible. And I'm not saying the player said that. I'm saying that I'm watching their behavior during play.
Right. I got you.
Yeah. So are you seeing what I mean about things being like redundant and layered? If there's a way if there's a way for us to take a rest with these points, then that's what these points do. If there's a way for blights to be fun in play, then this is the way that they're fun in play. By having other people invoke them. We're done.
Okay.
There's no reason to crisscross the mechanics at their... It's like you have a bunch of branches leading off, right? And then you're having the twigs get entangled. Right? So, and that happens so much that if I tried to diagram it, I would end up with like a crazy pen sketch of all these tangled twigs coming in. It's really thickly layered. So let's go back to abilities.
Okay.
you sort of jokingly referred to a potential heartbreaker when you first emailed me, and one of the things in which, I mean, it's generally not the case for your game, but one of the ways in which it's a little bit of the case is that those D&D archetypes are still in there. You can make a D&D ranger with this game.
Yeah.
There you have some abilities which are basically just components of the character classes that leave the character faceless. If I take a background like street urchin, and then I take merchant, and then I take man of many houses, that character is far from faceless. And I can use some of my free abilities here and there to, like, you make him good with a knife, right, or something like that. So I've got a very, very far from faceless character. I've got somebody I can hang a hook on when I go and, roll for my gear and stuff like that, or choose my gear. I know exactly what to pick from that gear list. I roll for my weird object, and it comes up this one thing, and I'm like, I know exactly how that's going to slot into this guy. I didn't plan to get this particular thing, but now that I have it, that's going to be, he got this thing when, he became a merchant, and then he used that to catapult himself to success. This is an important thing for him. He used it. He still got it. However, if I take Archer as an ability, it's basically just a blank. I might as well instead have taken that Appear On ability, right? The one that just allows me to beef up.
Yeah.
I should have just taken that and just thrown it into my archery. I mean, if that's what I wanted, was just competence at a particular thing, you've got an ability that allows me to do that. And so the notion that the abilities should be pretty solid, right, is important. One of the players took Shaman, Archer. No, God, it was Shaman, Merchant, and Archer. Which, if you ask me, is sort of like starting at 60 and then grinding to a halt. Path by path. And I just couldn't find a way. I mean, he sort of kept trying to make the character make sense and came up with more and more elaborate backstory, which is sort of a bad thing, not a good thing. Right? Instead of an arc that, went somewhere, he, bottomed out. Whereas in concept. And so effectively he was just a shaman with, a few things kind of scattered around. The other character was you'll like this one. Minstrel to tragic figure to burned man. And so that's just like really rich. He shared a background with the character that I just mentioned, but since the character that I just mentioned, kind of had this all over the place situation with two generic pieces, we never did get a line on, we actually avoided things that would illuminate the history, which had to do with the dark conspiracy, because we all knew it was just a mess. We had no idea. There was no arc for the other character to have in play, as a backstory. Just a mess of detail that he kept inventing, but nothing that actually worked to use. So I guess that's what I'm talking about with the abilities, this sense of, if you're trying to model every possible person in this universe, then yeah, you're going to have to find a way for your abilities to produce a man-at-arms with no face, who stands there, doing his job. But is that really what these abilities are meant to do? Or these paths, these histories? You can have ones that aren't as gaudy. I mean, the Burned Man is really freaking gaudy, which is great. They don't all have to be that gaudy, but something like that Man of Many Houses and stuff like that, that's really solid work. I mean, you can make some really, if you really wanted to go crazy, how about, Pure Soul innocent child, pure soul, hero of the people. Wait, innocent child, saint, pure soul, saint, hero of the people. In some combination of that stuff. I mean, you can do that, and you get something really freaking vivid. But clearly not everybody's going to be that vivid. But you can get stuff that's a lot better than just ranger, archer, armsman. Right? There's nothing there.